today we're doing section 1.7. We're going to spend 2 days on this. Today we're going to talk about how you solve absolute value equations. Okay, so think about what the absolute value of -4 is. That's 4. The absolute value of +4 is 4 because absolute values are the distance away from 0 on the number line. So an absolute value is always positive, okay? So whenever you have to solve any absolute value situation, you're always going to have two solutions. And the reason I say situations is after this, we're going to move on to inequalities, and you also have to have two solutions for these. So let's go on to an example so you can see. So the first thing that you always need to do with these is you need to isolate the absolute value. So that means get everything away from it. So first, we're going to subtract 1 from each side. So I have 3 times the absolute value of x minus 12 equals, oops, got carried away, equals 15. Now we're going to divide by 3. So I have the absolute value of x minus 12 equals 5. So here's where we have to set this up, so we're going to solve it twice. So I'm just going to get rid of the absolute value bars. So I have x minus 12 equals 5. And then I have to think of the negative solution. So I have x minus 12 equals -5. So you solve twice, once for the positive value, once for the negative value. And this is all after you isolate the absolute value bars. Okay, so I'm going to solve. I'm going to add 12 to each side here. So x equals 17. And when I add 12 here, I have x equals 7. So you can put it in set notation, 7, 17. That means there's two solutions, 7 and 17. All right, let's do another one. So remember, we're thinking about two solutions, and first we have to isolate the absolute value bars. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 5 from each side. So I have negative absolute value of 2x equals -16. So there's really still a -1 in front of those absolute value bars, so we're going to get rid of that by dividing by -1. So now I have the absolute value of 2x equals +16. So I'm going to solve twice. 2x equals 16 and 2x equals -16. When I divide by 2, I get 8. And when I divide by 2, I get -8. So the solutions here are 8 and -8. Okay. Let's look at this one. So let's remember, we're going to have two solutions. I'm going to say this over and over. I'm going to subtract 4 first as we try to isolate the absolute value bars. So I have -2 times the absolute value of x minus 3 equals 6. I'm going to divide by -2. So I have the absolute value of x minus 3 equals -3. All right, so if you get to this point and you have your absolute value bars isolated and they're equal to a negative number, if we go back to the very beginning, and by definition, the absolute value is always positive, right? So if you get this absolute value isolated and it's a negative, it's equal to a negative number, your answer is no solution, because there is no such thing as a negative absolute value. Absolute values are always positive. All right, number 4. So here we're going to isolate our absolute value bars. I'm going to divide each side by 10. We're a little fractiony here. I have the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 25 tenths. Let's reduce that to lowest terms. So I'm going to go up here. The absolute value of x plus 2 equals 5/2. Okay, so now we're going to solve it twice. We're going to solve it once for 5/2, and then we're going to solve it once for -5/2. Okay? All right, you don't have to do it this way, but I am a big fan of clearing the fractions. I'm going to clear the fractions out of here by multiplying by the denominator. So I have 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 2 is 4. Then I'm going to clear that out and solve. So I'm going to subtract 4. I have 2x equals 1, and I'm going to divide by 2. X is 1/2. If you want to just deal with decimals, you can do that, but your answer should be fractional. Here again, I am going to clear out my fraction. So I have 2x plus 4 equals -5. I'm going to subtract 4. So I have 2x equals -9. I'm going to divide by 2. So x equals -9. So my solutions are 1/2 and 9, -9/2. Oops. There you go. Okay, so number 5, you got to get rid of that 4, and it says divide by 4, so I'm going to multiply to undo it. So I have absolute value of 2x plus 1 equals 12. Okay, so I'm going to solve it twice. I have 2x plus 1 equals 12, and 2x plus 1 equals -12. I'm going to subtract 1, so I have 2x. Oops. All right, so from here, I'm going to subtract 1. So I have 2x equals 11. Then you're going to divide each side by 2. So I have x equals 11/2. Here I'm going to subtract 1. So I have 2x equals -13. I'm going to divide by 2. So I have x equals -13/2. So my solutions are 11/2 and -13/2. Okay, I think we have one more. Yeah, just one more. All right, so let's start by isolating our absolute value bars. I'm going to add 1 to each side. So I have 2 times the absolute value of 3x minus 5 equals 12. I'm going to divide all this by 2 to get that absolute value by itself. So I have 3x, the absolute value of 3x minus 5 equals 6. I'm going to solve twice. 3x minus 5 equals 6, and 3x minus 5 equals -6. Let's start over here by adding 5 to each side. So I have 3x equals 11. So x is 11/3. Here I'm going to add 5. So I have 3x equals -1. I'm going to divide by 3. X is -1/3. So my solutions are -1/3 and 11/3. Okay, that's it for today.